Hello everybody and welcome back or welcome to my channel. So if you've watched my last few videos, you'd know I started a little series dissecting unique voices in pop music in the 2000s and just looking at what makes each voice unique, what kind of singers use this voice, where it came from, what its roots are, how it's evolved, blah, blah, blah. In today's unique voice video, we're going to be looking at the powerhouse voice. And if you're unfamiliar with this voice, which I'm sure you are because I just made up the name for it about 40 seconds ago, I will break down what it is. It's incredibly strong, lots of runs, lots of breath control, a huge range, so like very low, very high, lots of scoops, a little bit of rasp and growl, super powerhouse, so much control, and lots of emotion. The singers that use this voice are actually often considered to be some of the best singers in the world because it is so hard to possess the skills needed to sing in this style of voice. Very, very talented vocalist. Let me give you some examples. Hey! Oh my God. No! I can't do this voice at all. If I could, I would be singing like this. I can't. It's much too difficult for me. That was really hard. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of the kind of voice that I'm talking about. So I started to do my research about this voice. I started digging around and I realized that it rose to prominence in the early 2000s with Christina Aguilera. This is when I saw a lot of other pop artists imitate this voice and see a lot of success from it. So that's when I could pinpoint, okay, this is when it really branched into modern day pop music. But I'm not dumb. I know Christina Aguilera is far from the first artist to use these qualities of voice. I know that it comes from way far back, and even just the artists I just referenced, they're from different eras, genres, styles. So I thought, okay, what are they all being inspired by? What qualities are they drawing from? What are the real roots of this powerhouse voice? As I said, the big identifiers of this voice are that it's very strong, lots of runs, lots of vocal flexibility, and lots of emotion. And what style does that sound like? Gospel music. Gospel hymns have been around since like the 17th century, but gospel music, as it is called today, its earliest documented roots are in like 1921. And gospel music is spiritual music that evolved out of like hymns and devotional songs, and its roots were very much in blues, jazz, soul. So Thomas Dorsey is a composer, and he's actually the one that coined the term gospel music in 1921 because he wanted to separate it from gospel hymns. This dude is straight up called the father of gospel, so you gotta know he knows what he was talking about. So what Thomas Dorsey did that really differentiated gospel from hymns was that he put a really big emphasis on the soloist. He left a lot of space for the soloist to add their own rhythms, add more lyrics, really give them an opportunity to express themselves musically and emotionally, but also being able to deliver a really powerful message with their music. So hymnal gospel music started as just church hymns, choir singing, to a music that was all about faith and expression and emotion and pain and suffering and being able to express yourself through your music and putting an emphasis on the soloist and crafting music in a way that allowed the soloist to shine. You might be confused why I'm focusing so much on the soloist and their role in the evolution of gospel music. Well, it's because the powerhouse voice directly evolved from gospel music, and this tradition of putting the highlight on the soloist. Powerhouse voice came from long ago, obviously has roots in gospel. It found its way into R&B, into Motown, into soul, into blues, into jazz, and even into pop. We saw pop artists like the Supremes, Whitney Houston, Lil Richard, Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight. We saw it in jazz with Nina Simone, with Ella Fitzgerald. The list goes on. Like some of the best artists in the entire world. Very much powerhouse singers, very inspired by the gospel tradition and that style of music. So where the hell does Christina Aguilera come in? Because everybody I mentioned is from long ago. So what is her significance in this? Obviously, she's an amazing singer, but everyone else I mentioned is really amazing too. So what was her impact in the powerhouse voice? How did she bring it into the current pop music scene more than anybody else? Christina was a Disney kid, and it's very well documented that in her early days, they marketed her as a bubblegum pop kind of girl, which is what they were doing with everybody. If you watched my baby voice video. That was a very popular style at the time. But Christina cites some of her biggest vocal influences as Ella Fitzgerald, Whitney Houston, even Guns N' Roses. So you gotta imagine that this marketing technique was killing her. She was like raised on R&B and gospel. So luckily for Christina, in 2002, she became successful enough to get creative control over her album. So this meant she had way more say over the songs, the production, the style, and her own singing choices. She started incorporating more of her own voice instead of what, Disney was having her sing like. And now she's actually credited as one of the first artists to successfully rebrand themselves from their like childhood image to an adult image. Was part of the reason that this voice got so much attention because she transitioned from a young bubblegum star to a powerhouse adult, like exposed, emotional, raw artist. Yeah, maybe. I know that was a really big deal considering she was the first one to really rebrand herself in such a drastic way, but also it was probably because she was a young white girl that had been like heavily sexualized and exploited, and the world doesn't give as much credit to artists of color. And I feel like she just got a lot of credit for a voice that she was inspired by like decades and decades of artists of color doing before her. But whatever, that's a story for another time. So after Christina's really big success with this voice, it just took off. It rippled into so many different streams of music and so many pop artists in particular. And the artists that used this voice became really synonymous with strength. Like almost all of them had a really strong message. They were very emotive, often outspoken. They had a stance. They had something to say with their music. And it became very associated with like badass artists because their voice was strong and powerful, but also their message was strong and powerful. Like Jennifer Hudson, Alicia Keys, Kelly Clarkson, Pink, Demi Lovato, JoJo. They're all kind of synonymous with like resilience. And in that way, it's really held up the gospel roots. Obviously not in the production or the lyrics or the type of music it is anymore, but in the message. Like gospel at its roots was testifying and emotion. And I think a lot of artists that were inspired by gospel and continue to use the powerhouse voice keep that aspect of the gospel music very much so alive. Something very unique about this voice is how impossible it is to imitate. The amount of people that can successfully do this voice are few and far between. I know I'm not one of them. We all heard it's not me. As much as I wish, not me. With most popular styles of music, you hear it on the radio, you can imitate it, sing along. Not this one. To sing in this way, it's very, very difficult. And the people that are capable of singing this way are just... That is our video for today, the powerhouse voice. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what your thoughts are. Did I get it right? Because I know in the last video I had no answers and you guys didn't seem to mind, which was nice. But at least this time I have a little bit more of a concrete background. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you again next time. Bye.